the mind is stronger than the body, and even if it's questionable health-wise, you can usually,
Very questionable. Very questionable health-wise.
Welcome to the BrainStoke podcast. My name's Mitt Niederhauser, and I'm here with Payson Norman and Roger Arnell and Danny Van Wagoner. Kind of a little bit of a different episode today. As you can see, Payson and I are hosting instead of the usual Tom and Preston. But we're excited to be here, and we just kind of want to give a couple shout outs to some sponsors. We want to thank Levo for the building, a mind care mental health company. And then this episode today is sponsored by Cornerstone Advisors. So shout out to them for sponsoring this episode. And then, we're excited to have Roger and Danny on the podcast today. But we've been thinking, and we got a question for Roger to start us off today.
Ooh, okay.
Roger, why did you attack when the pro field was taking a pee break and loaded jet this last year?
You know what's funny? Let's think for a second. I don't think Nathan brought this up when we were riding. We went and did Nebo Loop, and I didn't realize how big of a deal people thought that was. The truth is I just took my feed and I just kept going. I didn't necessarily I figured we'd all kind of get back together and then stop, but no one really I was just out there, and then Matt was out. Matt was in front of me, and he was going, and we just didn't really I figured we'd just all come together and stop, but no one really did, and we just kept rolling. And then Justin caught us, and we're like, all right, let's go. And that's really it. Honestly, I didn't put too much thought into it. I've learned that you always want to be at the front because you never know, and that was it. I didn't yeah.
Well, hearing it like that, it's it wasn't deliberate.
Yeah.
You weren't purposely trying to attack. And I know that was the hardest moment of my race last year was me and Payson. We could see you guys, and we were just going so hard. But we all finally caught, and it was all good. But we were curious about that one because I know there was some other people who were curious about that. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't deliberate.
So I know.
I'm glad we got that question out of the way.
I know.
All jokes aside.
Thanks for starting with such a great thing, right?
We thought we'd just come out hot, get you from the start. No, but all jokes aside, we are thrilled to have you two here today. We're also super excited, super thankful for Preston and Tom for letting us come on, be hosts today. And we really just, a big part of why we wanted you guys to come on so bad is because it's well known through Utah. You two are kind of the dynamic duo as far as, professional cycling goes. Everybody in Utah knows you guys. And Roger, sometimes you're often referred to as a professional mountain biker by some of your friends. Would you care to dive into that a little bit?
I don't know if I have a lot of comment. Sometimes professional is always a funny thing to say, right? Because I don't necessarily, to be honest, I don't say, I don't think to myself, I'm a professional mountain biker. I just love to ride my bikes, and whatever level that happens to be at whatever time I'm there, I'm stoked to do it.
Awesome. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Love to hear it. Another thing that we were also thinking is we see a lot of ourselves in you guys. Obviously we don't have families or wives or anything quite yet, but we're working to be like you guys. And so I think that is a huge part of why we're here, and we're trying to just dive deep into the why. Why is Roger Arnell, and obviously Danny as well. It's such a privilege, and we'd really like to start out with, why do you two express yourselves in these relationships through cycling, through work? What drives you?
I can start there, Payson, and thank you for the kind words, Payson and Mitt. It's really fun to be on, and we appreciate the opportunity. It's fun, I think, as well to be on together, just as a brief aside. Roger is is probably the person I spend the most time with outside of my wife. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's maybe not a great thing, but we're able to keep that balance. And Roger's one of my best friends, has been for a long time, and we're aligned on so many things and how we look at things. So it's really fun to be on together. For me, Payson, in life, to me, one of the main drivers for me across the domains of my life is progress, mastery, the concept of improving at something, be that when I was a student, doing my best to study and learn and hit the marks that I needed to hit. Professionally, it's the same. I have a 3-year-old daughter now, and it's changed things in many ways, but it's learning to be the best I can be at that. And for me, I have these different hats I wear. I have these different balls that I keep up in the air, but I love to do them, and I love sport in particular because it's something that I can very clearly see progress in and try and better myself and try and get the most out of myself as I can. So I'd say that progress and refinement is one of the core drivers for me in my life across domains, and I love the expression in sport as it's kind of a visceral experience of being able to see progress and see the results.
That's amazing. I love the stoke in that. That's great. Honestly, couldn't be better. And I want to ask you to dive a little deeper on the hats in the air. Tell us about your hats in the air. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm 33 years old. I work full time. I'm a private banker, so I work in the finance industry. Pretty demanding work life that can span irregular hours, I would say, at times, and definitely have fire drills and everything that comes along with that. So I have a demanding job, and then I'm a young father, so I have a 3-year-old daughter and a second baby on the way. My wife's having a baby boy in May, so excited for that. We'll have the complete set, and we'll see what it's like to be mano a mano, I guess. But we won't we won't have the numbers advantage anymore. Yeah. So I'm a family man, professional, and then I do try and push limits in sport and see what I can get out of myself. I've raced at a professional level for a number of years, spent a lot of time traveling the world, have raced, gratefully have raced all over the world, and have had a ton of fun doing it over the last number of years. I started racing bikes when I was 14 years old, so I've literally been chasing that dream for more of my life than I haven't at this point.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for, sharing, Danny. And we'll jump into more of the bike racing here in a second. But we want to give Roger the opportunity to answer the same question of, what drives you, and then a little bit of your background as well, Roger, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. So, it's a good question. I think that similar to what Danny said, I love being successful. And I think I think in this world, money drives most things. And if we kind of think of career-wise, I've always been in sales, high-pressure tech jobs. And it was really funny to me. Everybody, all the reps would constantly be looking at quotas, at percentages, as how much money they're going to make on things. And I just, to me, I always felt it was kind of like a waste of time. And the reason why I say that is because it was more important to me that I just did a good job. And I knew if I showed up, I did what I was supposed to do. All that other stuff, the fluff, the quote unquote money, would just work itself out. And so it doesn't really matter what I'm doing or what I'm involved with. I try not to focus on not necessarily the end goal, but the small things. And I small things matter, but it's the things that I can't control, I guess, I don't worry about. But I do worry about the things I can control. I think that's a better way to say it, because small things are certainly important, and that's what makes up the difference. But I just know if I put in the time, I put in the effort to whatever I'm working on, this being successful is what is my driver.
Yeah.
And that's with, I'm a father of 4. I just turned 40 this year, so I'm feeling a little old. I remember being in your guys' seats and age, like when I felt like I was the young guy. I feel like I'm the old guy now when it comes to biking. But marriage is the greatest thing ever. It's also one of the toughest things that you have to go. It's just, there's toughness there, right? That comes in both ways. But all of those things, and then work and family and providing, all of those things pull you in different directions, and you have to somehow figure out a balance. But I think at the end of the day, what drives me most is trying to be successful in all those.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you both for sharing. One of my New Year's resolutions was to read a book a month.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're now in February, and last month I read 2 actually. And the first book I read Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It was the first book I read, and I think a lot of, what you guys both just kind of shared is, success and all that stuff that drives us and the things we do within our careers, cycling, and most importantly with our families. It all comes from, those little things. The little things we do matter. And I think, what I love getting out of, kind of both of what you guys are saying was you're showing up, you're there. And I think that goes such a long way in all aspects of life. And then, like Roger said, is you're doing your best. Like, you're not worried about everything else will follow. Like, as long as you're doing your best, like, good things will happen.
Yep.
And I think that's so cool that you guys have been, able to figure that out and have been balancing that with everything and all the hats you guys are wearing. We kind of wanted to jump into some of the cool adventures that you guys have done on your bikes. Kind of mainly specifically, we were thinking of, you guys did Swiss Epic together as a team, a duo, a partnership last year. So let's hear, how was Swiss Epic? Who hurt the most? Who made the other one suffer the most? The good, the bad, the ugly.
Well, I'd just like to start. We did it 3 years ago, right?
That's right.
Together too.
Okay.
And so this last year, I would say was awesome. It was awesome.
Better than 3 years ago.
I mean, I not that like 3 years was bad. It was just different.
Okay.
And I would say it was better.
Let's talk about those differences a little bit. Let's talk about it. I want to hear more about it.
Yeah. So I think that this last year at Swiss Epic, it was interesting at the outset because we kind of came into it on a really kind of tight and wild schedule.
Yeah.
I raced Leadville on a Saturday. Roger and I flew to Switzerland together on Sunday.
Wow.
And then, so we got to Switzerland on Monday evening, did a shakeout ride on Tuesday, got our bib numbers, and started the race on Wednesday.
Yep.
And it went through Sunday.
Yep.
So it was kind of a wild time with a lot of really quick turnarounds. And in some ways, I think it was like there was so much going on that we did a good job at staying on keeping focused on the controllables.
Yeah.
Not getting in our heads at all, and just we went into it knowing that, hey, that's not an optimal lead up to the race. And really the goal was, let's try and be consistent. Let's try and have fun. Let's suffer every day and help each other when we need to. And that's a cool thing about duo stage racing is there's always moments and days when one partner's stronger than the other.
Yeah.
And I think Roger and I have got a lot of reps together that has helped us over time to be a better team, to be better teammates, and to get the most out of each other. So even despite the, I'd say, suboptimal lead up to the race, I think that we approached it with that mindset. We pushed it every day, and just had a lot of consistency, and ultimately found a lot of joy out there. Looking around, enjoying the epic stages every day, enjoying the suffer, enjoying the experience, and it was an awesome time. It was a highlight of the year for sure.
Yeah. I would just add that, like, I think our goal going into it was just, like, again, just be able to put our best foot forward every day and just push hard every day on the pedals. And I think we were able to do that. I think that made and it was fun that there was, like, sure, there's times where, like, oh, you're not feeling as good, but I would argue that, like, neither of us ever blew up. Neither of us ever had really big issues where we were trying to figure out something, we were able to both push and be there the whole time, which is a huge success, I would say. Like, yeah, and it just makes it so much fun. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it says a lot about you too and your life's hearing about your Swiss Epic experience and how that reflects upon, your day-to-day life and your work and your marriage and all of those things and in your family. To me, it's really interesting to see that you guys didn't have any of those major issues, because in a race like that, stage race, you're way far from home. Rarely does that ever happen. Yeah. In bike racing, we're always constantly failing, crashing, flatting, whatever it may be. But it just shows a lot about how coordinated you two are with, your balance, where you put your power or where you put your time. And what you're thinking about, kind of just hearing your mindsets. I love that.
I think just on that, Payson, I'm grateful to have a friend like Roger and someone that is aligned on those things. We joke sometimes that maybe this is the way to approach a big race like that. I think I called up Roger on a Sunday in late June.
Yeah.
And said, hey, do you want to do Swiss Epic? We weren't planning to do it.
Okay.
the race starts the beginning of August. So it was about and then we're like, maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. I think within 24 hours, we're like, all right, if we can get an entry, we can. Yeah. Entries were closed. We were able to snag an entry and be confirmed, I think, the first week of July. So about 4 weeks in advance. Roger hadn't been racing a lot that spring, and he just trained up for a month, and it was all eyes on the prize kind of thing. And it's fun to have a friend that you can call up on a Sunday and say, hey, wouldn't it be crazy to go race, do a week-long race in Switzerland next month, and within 24 hours, 48 hours, be all set to go.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, on the 4th of July going up Francis Peak, I don't even think that, was I planning on doing Swiss Epic? I think we were maybe thinking about it, or I think I talked to both of you, right? Or at least Payson for sure.
Yeah, I think I remember you briefly talking about how there's a chance you guys might be going to Swiss Epic, and you were thinking about low to jump point to point.
Well, because you guys were like, should I, come do it? And I'm like, well, I wasn't even planning on either of those races really, I think, at that point. Maybe I'd sign up for point to point though, I think.
Okay.
But, I was just going to say, with that, I was riding, but I wasn't racing. I don't even think I'd done a race that year or earlier that year. But I would argue was focusing I think, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, just purely dialed. It was it's amazing when you don't have this huge load that you're trying to come off of or keep off of. I was riding, but then I had this build time to just focus all my energy into Swiss Epic, and it was at the end of the time of it, my fitness level, everything, I think it was probably as good as I'd ever done, if not better.
Wow.
So it kind of a testament to sometimes we overtrain, sometimes we do a lot of things we shouldn't do, and when you focus on one goal and that's purely all you're doing, you can do it. Now, I think it helps that you have a lot of history and muscle memory and all those types of things, but that was, I would just say maybe one comment on that is, when you're stressing all the time about all this huge schedule and this races, and you kind of just say, hey, this is all I'm going to do, and you focus on that one thing, all the stresses kind of change. And, obviously if I knew that I was doing Swiss Epic in January, I would have been stressing about it all spring, all winter, spring, trying to do everything I can to get fit, but I just didn't. And I ended up, it actually, I think, in a lot of ways served me better.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. I actually had a similar experience, and I want to talk more about that day going up Francis, because as you guys know, I recently just returned from an LDS mission in Argentina. Best experience of my life. I'm so grateful for that. And the first thing I did the next morning was Francis Peak, 5,000 feet of freedom.
What else would you do?
What else would you do? I actually borrowed Tom's bike, or Mitt borrowed it for me, and he said, woke me up at 5 a.m. He said, we're doing Francis. And I was like, okay. But I do remember seeing you two that day and just thinking, man, these guys are awesome. I want to be like these guys when I'm older.
Thank you.
And I remember you talking about, like, I don't really know how I'm feeling about racing bikes right now. I'm trying to focus on my family. I've got 4 kids. I'm trying to focus on work. And I just remember hearing your optimistic, everything all into life, and kind of just having this, like, everything's going to work out. And then I remember we had the chance to grab some lunch a couple weeks later. Yep. And it was like, I'm all in for Swiss Epic. This is what I'm doing. Here, you should eat this pumpkin bread because I can't, because I'm going on a diet, because I've got a race to win in 5 weeks. And that transition to me was so awesome to see. So I would just like to dive a little bit deeper in how you guys really, like, what's your thought process going into a race that's, tens of thousands of elevation gain every day, tens of thousands of miles away, shipping a bike, all of that. What are the little stressors that you guys have to go through?
Yeah. Well, it's a great question, Payson. There's a lot, bottom line. You've got time zones, which the rule of thumb in performance sport is to have a day of adjustment per hour of time change. Central European time is 8 hours ahead of Utah time. So, the ideal is 8 days. Usually, as working guys that moonlight as elite level cyclists, usually we have less than that. So, there's the time zone that your body's trying to get adjusted to. There's the travel, and it seems that it's the exception rather than the standard that you have issues with travel, with getting a bike there, with losing bags, with something like that, or with a rental car or whatever it is. So there's always those things that there's a lot of stressors that way. You can't control your diet. You have different foods that are available. Switzerland's pretty great in that you have a lot of high quality things. Yeah. Switzerland's pretty great in every way.
Yes, it is amazing.
So you've got those things. You've got the time away from work that can be a stressor. You got your family that may or may not be with you, and that can come with it different stressors as well. I think, and I look up to Roger in this way, and I think that stage racing, multi-day racing in particular, comes down to managing your focus and managing the cumulative cognitive load. Because if you race and then you don't turn off, it just spirals day after day, particularly if you have a bad day, and then you can't kind of get out of your head, you can't recover. That's where it goes bad. I think what I've learned in stage racing is it's managing and having focused intensity around the race days and then turning off beyond that. I try and really not analyze race files, Strava files, power files, those things during stage races. I truly finish the race and then try and not think about the race, try and do other things, except for what I need to, get my bottles ready for the next stage or whatever else. But I think it's the managing the amount of time, the amount of stress, the amount of headspace that you're giving to it, turning on, turning off. And I think having a partner in a duo race that's able to do that well is really helpful. We at this race, I think, did a better job at that than we've done in the past.
Oh, yeah.
We would race and then we'd genuinely have a great time. We were staying with a couple other guys that are good friends. We'd go and jump in the lake in St. Moritz, do ice baths, just kind of not even think about racing till the next day. And I think it really made it so we had a lot of staying power when it came to the focused intensity sessions.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we were racing, we also had a great time. And I think that says a lot. I mean, Payson, you mentioned the stresses of planning, the food, your bike food, your like extra stuff, your luggage, like all that stuff. It is a lot for sure. I would say that we've all been on 100 bike trips, and every family trip turns into a bike trip too somehow.
Weird.
Patient
wives, shout out.
And so you do get a system down, which I think helps. And I would argue Danny is the expert European travel buddy. So anytime he calls me to tell me to like, we're going to Europe to race our bikes or ride our bikes, I'm in. So he did a lot of the heavy lifting of like getting our places, all that stuff. He just knew all that. So that was helpful for me to not have to stress about that. And then just planning everything. But like, you can only control what you can control. And I think that's where, like, don't stress about stuff you can't control. And I think that probably like helps a ton. And I'm a pretty fun-loving, happy-go-lucky guy. I don't know. And I like to have, smile. And so like after we're done with the races, like we're eating, but like Danny and I would say we were like focused together. We were aligned on what we're eating time-wise, like when we're waking up, like going to bed. We weren't staying up late. We weren't like everything. We just aligned. And that makes, it's hard to find a partner like that. Like, and Danny, I'm sure he got sick of me talking all the time, but like, it lightens the mood. Danny, do you see that mountain over there? Like, we're trying to suffer, but like, man, this is beautiful. Like, those things matter. And it like, you realize like biking, like we love biking and we love suffering, but it's more than biking, right? Like, and that's, I think for me, I don't get too stressed about the results. I don't try to like analyze all those things. And when you do it because you just love the suffering and you love the accomplishment of it and feeling like you did your best, like, again, the results somehow just appear.
Yeah, I'm intrigued with this thought of, being able to turn it on and then being able to turn it off, because I think that's something that, it's definitely something that I struggle with. It's like, we're training, we're racing, we're doing all these fun things, right? And it's like, it's hard to be like, oh, I can't like think about the workout I did this morning. Like, oh, like, even though I set my best 10-minute power, like I got to, focus in class, got work, these other things that come. And I'm grateful that you guys brought this up, because I think I'm sitting here listening like, oh, these are little things that I can apply. And then also, back to kind of the theme we've been talking about of controlling what we can control. It's like, there's so many things that, we are going on in our busy lives, and being able to, kind of turn off that and just be less stress-free, a little bit more back with seat in, training, racing, and especially in a stage race like this, because I think you guys had way more fun by being able to turn it off and go jumping in the lake. Like
some of my best times were sitting in the lake that's freezing and trying to like just relax. Like, that was fun. Talking to the locals, like, it's awesome.
Yeah, and like, you guys wouldn't have been able to have that experience if you were back at home worrying about Strava KOMs and why you couldn't do 300 watts up that other climb, just worrying about it. And I think, I'm guilty of worrying about those things sometimes when you have a less than ideal training ride or workout. And I think, that's something that I'm going to take and, try to implement as I continue throughout life. And yeah, I appreciate you guys sharing that. That was some good wisdom there.
With that being said, I want to ask the question, mix it up a little bit. We're kind of talking about bad days. Let's hear about both of your worst days on the bike and what that taught you now. And it can be, an external thing. It doesn't have to be, it was a bad day on the bike because I didn't perform well on the bike or got a flat tire. It could be an external issue as well.
Start? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so gratefully I have many more good days on the bike than bad days, but you do this long enough and you have some bad ones in the memory bank for sure. For me, I'd say honestly, they cluster around. Last spring I did Cape Epic, and for those of you that don't know, Cape Epic's an 8-day long stage race in South Africa, one of the hardest races in the world in the mountain biking discipline. Depending on the course, they change the course every year, but you're racing for 4 to 6 hours every day for 8 days. And it's, you come from the Northern Hemisphere where it's winter in March, you go to the Southern Hemisphere's summer. There was literally a day that on course, they recorded temperatures north of 140
Oh my goodness.
this last year.
That's hot.
So yeah, it's shocking to the system. And then you have all of the other things that come along with being in Africa. Water issues, disease, everything else. And it was a bucket list thing for me to do Cape Epic, and I'm super grateful that I had the experience. It was character building. 8-day long stage race. I got sick to my stomach. It ate something bad. Picked up some sort of thing probably through the water. Stage 1's a prologue. Felt fine then. Stage 2, I started to feel a little iffy. And then the next 6 stages, I was super sick. I took an antibiotic, trying to keep things, under control as you're in Africa. And that comes with consequences if you're stage racing because it changes how your body absorbs nutrients. So basically, my stomach shut down. And day after day, I literally couldn't go above like fat max type of power. So for me, like literally was doing 5-hour-long days with average power profiles that would normally be warm-up zone for me. Like it was just wild how rough it was. So to me, there were really long days where it seemed, wow, another long day, and then I've got to do this again tomorrow. And it became very much about grit and about just getting it done day after day. So I think that experience, and I've had a number of other experiences similar, I wouldn't say to the same extent as how rough that experience was, but it really, to me, underlined, Payson, that the mind is stronger than the body. And even if it's questionable health-wise, you can usually,
Very questionable. Very questionable health-wise.
But the body truly is does what the mind tells it to, and so being able to go to the bank, so to speak, of the mind has control over the body, and even when things are really rough, you can will yourself through those moments. I think that transcends to a lot of other areas in life as well, and certainly most bad days in a stage race aren't followed up by 5 other days that are probably 5 of your hardest 6 days on the bike. But regardless, it's the knowing that it's temporary and it's we paid to do this now. It's the knowing that it's temporary and that it will ultimately be a good gritty experience that you can lean on in the future.
That is some serious struggle and sweat. 140 degrees
it was
on an antibiotic.
Wild.
Racing every day.
The last 3 days, it turned from that heat to like torrential rain. So we got the whole gamut of the South African late summer weather.
That's about as extreme as it gets, Danny.
It was insane, honestly.
All right,
Wild
Roger.
experience.
I would just like to comment and say, I bet you Danny's thinking right now, man, I can't wait to do that again.
The mind's a strange thing. I think for a couple weeks I thought, wow, I could never, wow, so happy to be home. Get me out of there. And it took my body about 2 months to be back to normal.
I remember that.
Wow.
It was really rough. I'd say it was that was in March. It was till the end of May that I felt healthy and good on a bike again. It was probably not a great thing to do health-wise, but we made it. And I would say about summertime, it's like, I think I'd like to have another go at that, Roger.
Something about that. And I mean, kind of to that point, I don't know how many times, but there's been so many times where I'm in a bike ride or a race or doing some hard workout or something, and you think to yourself, like, why am I doing this? Like, what am I doing? I'm selling all my bikes. Yeah, I'm doing something else. I don't know what it is. But somehow you get through it, and we're still here. And, I don't know how long I've been racing, 15 years later, whatever it is, I still love it. Priorities have changed. But early on, I do remember those longer rides you'd blow up, right? And and it's like, we still have 2 hours left or whatever it might be, and you just slug it through and somehow you finish, and it's just not fun, right? I do think that as I've gotten a little bit older and you kind of get that base, I haven't had as many of those days. But what I would like to comment on is I would say probably the heart, stress has so much to do with success. And in the times that I have been the most the best results, I guess, on the bike have been when I've been the least stressed in life, and like not focused on the results. It's crazy how that works.
It's not forced.
It's not forced. It's fun, and it's hard to do. And I remember I had a coach in 23, and he pushed me. Like, I always had my training schedule was like recovery Monday, hard Tuesday, recover Wednesday, hard Thursday, pre-race workout, race Saturday, or do some big ride, off Sunday. And I've done that for forever. And then I got this coach, and kind of the pro way, I think, to like train is 3 days hard, 1 day's off, 3 days hard, 1 day's off, 3 days hard, 1 day off. Not 1 days. That's 1 day is one, I'm pretty sure, not days. And so I don't ride on Sunday. And so it was Monday through Wednesday hard, off Thursday, off the bike completely, and then hard Friday, Saturday. But I never had a recovery day. Like, my recovery day was off the bike, which was weird to me too, because I don't know what to do with myself if I don't ride my bike. Just yesterday, someone's like, "Do you ride your bike a lot?" My comment, I know this is stupid and corny, but it's like, not very much, just mostly once a day.
Just mostly once a day.
Yeah. So that's usually what I do, because I literally don't know what to do if I don't go for a bike ride. But the times where you push yourself so hard and you're like, what? Like, it's like, why are you doing that, right? And so if you're not having fun, to me, especially at this point in my life, like, if I'm not having fun, I don't know why. But I also would say, like, the best results have come, like, I don't analyze things. You know, we all know Nathan Manwaring. And so when I need something analyzed, I say, "Nathan, tell me this," but I don't need to know all the back data on it. I don't care. Go on for hours, right? I just say, like, tell me what I need to know, and I'll do that. And I think that, I mean, now someone might think, "Oh, well, that's a cop-out," or whatever. But for me, I can only focus on what I have, and I only have so much to give. And when you have we all have a limited amount of energy, mental capacity, everything. And so you have to figure out where you can give that to. And when you're doing that, it makes a huge difference. And so those times that have been the worst for me, and that year, like, I actually didn't race at all in 24 because and a lot of life things happened were going on too. But it was just like, I got burnt out. And it was the first time where, like, cycling almost wasn't fun. And so that's why this last year in 25 was, like, I would argue one of the most fun times I ever had on a bike, because 24 was just like, I never really got very good. I just wasn't very great. But 25, like, and that's to a point of life was better. I had a few things that I figured out. But I wrote it because I loved it. And I didn't have a coach. I usually just copy Danny's workout. So that's that's pretty much what I do. And it works out great. But I don't know. That's how I'd answer that.
I think it was from a friend's perspective, it was cool, I think, to kind of see that fire reignite after that burnout.
Yeah.
Of kind of refinding the joy in biking, refinding the joy in training. And, you know, obviously training it's not all fun. It hurts and it suffers, but it's kind of that balance. I think, Roger, you and I have talked about this, where you care deeply, but also don't care at the same time. It's like this paradox. And it seems like when you strike the right balance there, that's when it's fun and you are able to unlock performances. It's this interesting.
Yep. Well, and I think we've all been at a certain level, all of us, like, and when you're at that level, it's fun.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, like, I go out and, like, I can, like, it's like I could ride, like, so hard all day, and it's like, crap, I only have 2 hours. Like, you wish you had more time when you're, like, feeling so good. And that's what, like, that feeling is what drives me. Like, sure, the results, all these things, but, like, that is what I love. Like, I love, like, even if I'm not training for anything, like today I copied Danny's fast 5 starts. I think fast start 5s, I think is what they're called. But like I don't know how to ride my bike without doing intervals, but, like, I want to be fast because it's fun. And so a lot of that, and like, literally, I have nothing on the calendar right now. I mean, but I still love to, like, push myself.
Being fast is fun.
Fast is fun, for sure.
Fast is fun.
And I think, you know, to that point, once you have been able to, feel that feeling that Roger was talking about where you're like, oh, I could do this forever. And you just feel amazing. Like, I know we've all felt it before. And that's what you're chasing.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're looking for. Every time I kick my leg over my bike, I'm looking for that feeling.
Yeah.
And I think, when you have other things in life with, those stressors and things like that feeling, that you don't get it as often. And I kind of wanted to follow back on something that you had mentioned, Roger, is, you talked about how stress is something that we all deal with and we all manage it in our own ways. But I was curious, like when Roger Arnell is stressed to the max, what do you do to go like become unstressed? Is it a bike ride? Like, what does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah. Let me think for a second. There's no doubt that, we're on the BrainStoke podcast, right? Like getting out and sweating and seeing the sun and being in nature, that's going to help a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Like, is it going to solve everything? No. But certainly does it make things better? Like, you don't know how many times I've left the house and the kids are screaming and all this stuff. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. And I come back from a bike ride and I am rejuvenated. And my wife's like she's almost happy I went on a bike ride because I just you feel energy, you have energy and you're just ready to take on the world. And so certainly that helps. But in order to do that, you have to there's so many other things in life that you have to have in order to even have that ability to go on a bike ride.
Yeah.
And that's, I would say number one is your marriage. If life is not great with Chanel and I, honestly, nothing else matters. I don't know how else to say it. And so that motivation to work on my marriage and to do whatever it takes to make sure we have a good relationship is number one. And then, family, faith, work, all of those things, when those are aligned, it reduces the stress so that you can then go and live that life that you're hoping to live. Now, it's always a balance and it's always a struggle and there's always things you have to go to. But yeah, I think that you have to work on all those things and it's a constant effort, right? And one day you might have to you think you have it figured out and you probably don't.
Love that. So with that being said, I think the word balance has came into play so many times today. Danny, I'd love to hear about your balance between, your family, work, marriage, bike, all of it. Kind of just piggybacking on what Roger was just talking about.
Yeah, totally. Excuse me. I think it's the $1 million question, Payson. I think it's a challenge when you've got a lot of things. I think Roger teed this up well. You've got a lot of things that you want to do well at. I want to be a great cyclist, but I don't want to do it at the expense of being a good husband and a good father, and a good professional. All those different hats. And I think I like to think of it as kind of a priority stack, Payson, where you have the highest priority things, and then you go down from there. I think at times it can be challenging to have those in the right order. And at times, inevitably one of the things requires more. And so balance can look different one day, 1 month, 1 quarter versus another. But I think for me, I'm certainly happiest when I'm able to feel like I'm progressing in all of those avenues, that I'm doing my responsibility, my role in all of those. And I think a lot of the challenge and kind of the fun is threading the needle between those things. Not always easy to do, but I think it's really rewarding when you can do it. And I think they can stack. For example, I travel a lot to do bike races. And when I can, my wife and daughter come and I really try and train and race when I need to, have that focused time block. And then I try and be really present with the wife and daughter and then oftentimes I'm working in the afternoon if I'm in Europe, et cetera. So I think for me, it's the time blocking and being present. I think balance looks like time blocking and being present in whatever current time block I'm in, whatever current priority is what I'm in, trying to have my mind there and my attention there, and not be splitting my brain between my daughter and work when I'm trying to play with my daughter, for example.
I love that.
And I just commented on Danny, like, he does a really good job at that. You'll text Danny sometimes, and I never expect to get a text back from Danny until he's ready. But, like, what that tells me is, like, he's doing what's important to him, and that's okay. Like, and that's why he's able to spend the time he does when he's focused on whatever he's doing at the time. But he's not focused in letting other things distract him. And I should be better at that. Like, I see Danny do that, and that is something that, like, I see that allows him to do what he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody can work on that. That's so great. Thank you so much. Also, another thing that I wanted to kind of touch on, I know both of you are pretty successful in the workplace. Me and Mitt probably have a total of $12 to our name right now. So just for all the viewers out there,
I bet it's more than that.
Maybe 13. I kind of wanted to hear, what are your guys's, if you could go back and look, what would be your best one-liner for somebody who hasn't decided their profession, or, somebody's who looking to be successful in whatever it may be?
I'll follow you, Raj.
Okay. I don't know if I have a good one-liner. I think what comes to my mind, my father-in-law was super successful, and and that has allowed me to do a lot of the things that I've been able to do. But one thing he said to me one time, I remember he said, and not in exact words, but basically he said, you make your money where you can make your money, and then you play somewhere else. And I think a lot of people sometimes try to mix those two. And some people are successful at it, which is fine. But I'd say the majority of the people they have something they're really, really good at that might not be that fun. It might not be building bikes or owning a bike shop. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But you find out what you have to have. You have to be able to provide for yourself and your family. And you find something that you're really good at, you're passionate about, and that will actually produce results, which in that case is money. And then when that is taken care of, it takes away that stress, I would say, where you're able to then be better at the things you like to do. I don't know if that was a lot of lines.
It's a great one-liner. Great one-liner.
For me, if I was to say it with a quick one-liner, Payson, I think it's relationships matter and team matters. I think if you choose what you're passionate about, and then you can choose a workplace that you feel like you're part of a great team that's going to mentor you and cares about you progressing, I think that's the biggest thing in career success.
Love that. Thank you, guys.
And I think, like, the last 2 minutes, not in specific, but like, this whole podcast, and especially the last 2 minutes, is part of the reason, why when Payson and I had the opportunity to host the podcast, where we would think, who could we bring on? And, obviously we instantly thought of you guys for that reason. And I think, I just hope you guys know how much Payson and I look up to you guys. And it's like, we always say our dream goal is like, yeah, like when we're 40, I hope we're like Danny and Roger, or, like when we really hope that one day we can be like you guys. And I think it's just so cool and neat of, your guys' story and what you guys have been able to do, and not only have like just that type of impact that I know you guys have had it on us specifically, but I think there's plenty of other people out there who have also been impacted by, your guys' values and what you guys bring. And I think it's awesome. So grateful for you guys.
Thanks, Mitt.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Kind of getting emotional. It's been so good to kind of pick your guys' brains a little bit, but I also want to ask you guys, what happened in, the beginning of your lives that's the biggest contribution to your why? Because you guys were both, once 20 or 10 or 15 or whatever it may be when you guys had some of those foundational moments of, this is why I want what I want.
I mean, I do think there's kind of, we're all given certain gifts and blessings and talents. I think that we're all given talents, and I think when you find out what those are and build upon those, somehow you find fulfillment. And there's a lot of things that, I don't know, I'm kind of stumbling here, but there's a lot of people along the way that help. There's a lot of things that have to go your way, but I think at the end of the day, if you can find out what you're passionate about, and I think for me, it's that desire to have success, but not that at the expense of something that matters. Yeah.
I think for me, a couple of things come to mind, Payson. But my dad has always been a best friend and a mentor, and as good a dad as any boy could ask for. And I was interested in biking. He was mountain biking in the 90s when it wasn't cool. And when I was 14, I said, "Hey, Dad, let's go to a bike race." And he took the time out of his busy life to take me to a bike race, and pretty much spent the next couple of years driving me around to bike races. And I think that was pivotal, not because it was the entree to the sport that's defined a lot of my life, but just as much as that, it was that I think that it helped me discover that I think endurance sport's a microcosm for a lot of other things in life. You can learn a lot about yourself, a lot about other facets of life through endurance sport, the suffering that comes along with it. And my father, through that experience, I think that starting to bike race was the really what comes to mind. He helped me to find that my why of, willing to push boundaries, willing to push limits in sport and other things, that it's okay to lean into those passions, and it's okay to try and excel ultimately, like Roger said. Whatever that success looks like in each domain, he really taught me to search that excellence. And the other pivotal thing, I'm stoked for Mitt with his engagement. My wife.
Payson, you're engaged too?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, sorry. I shouldn't have said that then.
Well, now we got to work really hard to keep it a secret. Sorry, Charlie.
Well, you said you were going to you're moving to Layton, and I'm like, anyway, sorry. So
You're good.
I just pick up on little things.
But honestly, though, my wife has really always been like shoot for the moon kind of mentality. And she's always encouraged me that I can do more than I think I can across domains. And so I'm really grateful for that. And that's a core piece of my why as well.
Yep. Shout out to all the women in our lives.
100%.
Would not be here without them.
100%.
Not a chance.
Seriously. Man, I just love that. Just being so humble and saying, I'm driven to be the person that I can be because of this example. For you, Danny, obviously it's your father and your wife and your family. And for all of us, it's all of us listening. It's the same. It's those core people in our lives that help us learn more about who we want to be and why we want to be that person. And then that just dials back into the 5 S's of really finding yourself, really working on that. Love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming on and being being a part of it. I really enjoyed the opportunity to chat and, interview you guys as mentors of mine and as Paysons. And yeah, awesome.
Thank you guys. Really a pleasure to be on. Really fun sitting down.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
Thanks, guys.
One last question for you, Roger.
Uh-oh.
We're going to put you in the hot seat here, but it's for a good
I
reason.
love the
right?
hot seats.
We put Roger in the hot seat a couple times here, but
When we get ready here.
This is one of the most important ones, all right? So as you guys know, me and Mitt are tying the knot this year. We're going to get married. So thankful for that. What's the over-under? What are the odds that we can use your Porsche as a getaway car? I thought I'd ask you here because maybe a better chance, public's watching.
Roger also has a minivan.
A Sprinter van? I mean, that might work. I mean, it's got a bed. That's kind of fun. It's a good question. Yeah. I don't know.
Just around the block, baby,
I'm sure we can work something out.
Oh,
sure
love
we can
it.
work something out. I haven't gotten an invitation, though, and, I mean, you're not even sure you're getting married yet, so, like...
In due time. Just like Swiss Epic, I gotta
Hey, what's
Probably
mine
better
is
than
yours.
lock it in.
What's mine is
More
yours.
than a
It's
month.
just stuff
Yeah.
anyway. Doesn't matter. Just stuff. Absolutely.
Love that. We'd also love to give you guys 30 seconds to a minute just to kind of freestyle. Is there anything you want to say, to the people?
I've never freestyled before. Or maybe that's all I ever do.
It's kind of scary to think of.
I didn't mention this, but I told my wife this morning, hey, I'm going on a podcast. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't really know. And I said, I'm on with Danny. And these are the two things she said to me. She said, make sure you let Danny talk. And then she said, think before you speak. And so I didn't know. I was like thinking to myself, I better just not say anything because I never think before I speak, and I talk a lot. So, but you know what? I think if I was going to freestyle, I still think it comes down to family, faith, and then the adventures that we're all kind of striving for, whatever that might be. Obviously, we've talked about biking today, but I mean, none of this would be possible without having that support system, which comes from your wife, your family, and obviously, I mean, the gospel and living that and having a purpose and having a why. And, yeah,
Love it. Any hot takes?
I had my 1 minute. Got nothing else to say.
Gosh, I think sport. We're lucky around this table. Sport has been a big part of each of our lives, and I'm grateful for. I guess the freedom to have that expressed in each of our lives. I think it's really a privilege to be able to, have time and resources to have these experiences. So I'm stoked on that, and ultimately, whatever it is, I think having a passion and being willing to make sacrifices to chase that passion, I feel like a lot of living comes through that process, and almost transcendence, right? It's kind of what we're all chasing, right? Is those moments of expansiveness that comes from, pushing past empty in the Alps, or, hiking in the mountains above our houses here, whatever it is. It's what I live for, and certainly what makes me stoked, and I think a better husband, father, professional, being able to have those experiences.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see where you guys go.
Me
You
too.
got a lot going for you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, guys.
yeah. Thanks for coming on. You've had it, folks. That's your daily dose.